Let's move into NFL Week 1 recap, winners and losers. Let's start with the winners. Andrew, who do you got?
Hey, so my winners are going to be a little bit of a funny one. We're going back to back on a trade that just happened. I would like to highlight the Packers and the Cowboys as both winners this past week. Obviously, the Packers, for obvious reasons, they come off a win against the Detroit Lions, who were one of the best teams in the NFC, one of the best teams in the NFL last year. And they just look like a dominant force. I feel like people were definitely talking about the Packers coming to the season and possibly even as like Super Bowl threats, but they kind of solidified that with this week 1. And obviously, the Lions have their own issues, but man, that defense with Micah Parsons looks so good. And then you look at that offense, and they look like they have some weapons on that team. Matthew Golden looked like he was decent for his first game in the NFL. Jordan Love, it looks like the guy that was supposed to replace Aaron Rodgers, and just in general, that team looks like they could be really good going into the season. So I really like I'm high on the Packers at this point, and I think that they are potentially big winners going into the rest of the season. And then the Cowboys, you look at a team that they just lost Micah Parsons. You don't know how they're going to show up in week 1. They're playing the defending Super Bowl champions, and they come out and they're giving them a game. They're scoring on every single drive for the first half. And that game was super competitive. Obviously, it turned into a little bit of a dud in the second half after the rain delay, but still, that was a great game. And I think the Cowboys are in a way better position than a lot of people thought they were going to be. And I could easily see them fighting for a playoff spot. So even though they lost, I think that overall they're winners. And it does pain me to say this a little bit because I'm hoping that people stay to this point. The Packers are not, I don't like the Packers at all. I feel like the America's team thing is a little bit overhated, but I'm one of those haters. I'm not big on the Packers or the Cowboys either, but I'm going to show them a little bit of respect here. I think that they had a solid week 1 performance, and Dak Prescott looks like the guy, he looks like one of the guys, and you can see why he has a $60 million contract. Maybe not why he has a $60 million contract. That's a little bit of extensive, but still you understand what I'm saying. I definitely think they come out of this week as potential winners.
In a competitive game like that against the defending Super Bowl champions, you could definitely see why he's getting paid. That would have been an instant classic had it not been for the delay. And as you mentioned, it did turn into a dud. The Cowboys look really good. If they could finish that game, CeeDee Lamb obviously got a ton of blame at the very end of the game there. If they can finish that game properly, maybe the conversation is a little bit different. I mean, it's different with the media as far as the Dallas Cowboys are concerned. They looked good. I don't think it's a bad pick, even though they lost. And then, the Packers. I mean, that would have been my winner. We're going with different winners in this. The Packers are a great pick. They looked unbelievable against the Lions. They controlled that game start to finish. Good stuff on them. I got the Pittsburgh Steelers. I just feel like if you insert a QB that is competent and a little bit above average, this Steelers team can be above average. I think they have the ability to move beyond that 9-8 that they've been stuck at. And Aaron Rodgers threw 4 touchdowns. Awesome stuff. Had that chip on his shoulder because he's going to talk himself into whatever he needs to go out there and play football. And that looked really good. That was super promising. That I don't know if we had seen the Steelers offense play like that in a very, very long time. And I do think that it is sustainable. If Aaron Rodgers can throw like he did, at the very end of those Packers years, this Steelers team is legit. What is he? They're legit. If he hasn't done something like that since he was with the Packers.
Bro, you're fantasizing over Aaron Rodgers over there.
I tell you what, man, this reminds me. I tell you what, man, it's a cats in the cradle kind of situation, bro. Yeah. This is Favre with the Vikings. I'm seeing it. I know it's not the hottest take or the most niche take. I know a lot of people are seeing it. I think it's Favre with the Vikings. I think they got this small window. I think it's working. I think they can make a run. I legitimately do. They're in a really tough division in the AFC. I liked it. I get it. It's against the Jets, but I also think the Jets look pretty good too. I think Justin Fields, I kind of felt bad for him because he was on the opposite end of the loss there, or of the game with the loss. I thought the Jets looked like a very competent team. Also, Jalen Ramsey closing the door on the Jets. That was a great end of the game. I thought it was a great game for the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, I won't push back too hard. I think that the Steelers definitely showed some promise in that game, but I just have to remind myself that it is the Jets. I want to see a little bit more out of the Jets, and then I want to see how the Steelers team fares against a team that isn't the Jets. I definitely think that Aaron Rodgers having a 4-touchdown game and beating his former team and being I liked beating everything associated with the Jets was a nice touch. And I am not the biggest Aaron Rodgers hater, so props to him. But I'm not a full believer in them, and that's a tough division. I think they have some really tough games and some pretty tough losses coming up.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll be a realist. Aaron Rodgers went to the Jets, got all of his friends signed, and then ran a couple of coaches out of there. Like what did the Jets do to you, bro? Like, if anything, they
Yeah.
have more of a case on the other way around. But my other winner is the Bills. Uh, if you had checked in with me about 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, maybe it would have been the Ravens. But I just think you have to give it up to a team that has such an inspiring week one win, even for all of the faults that happened before 4.5 minutes to go in the game. It's just actually unbelievable that they were able to pull it off. And game of the week, game of you texted me, you were like, I think that was the best game I've ever seen in my life. Like, when that happened, and
It
I
was
don't
pretty
even mean to
close. It
make
was
fun of
up
that
there.
because it is a good take. Like, that was such an amazing game. I think I'm jealous because I fell asleep,
Yeah.
but
Happens.
and I'll admit, but I got to give it up that they major winners start this season 1-0, and then the Ravens still don't get that like edge over the Bills. They killed them in the regular season last year. Obviously, not so much in the postseason. So, Bills kind of building a little bit of momentum in that rivalry, and I think that's total positive.
Yeah, I mean, I have no pushback to that. I think that the Bills, as much as I hate to say it as a Dolphins fan, like the Bills have just been so good for so many years. And it really was never the Bills that I hated like that much. Like I genuinely do dislike the Bills as like an organization, just everything about them. But I never really had like a pure hatred in my heart for them because I was too busy hating the Patriots growing up. Like that was the team that we always circled on our calendar to get beaten by, and then hopefully like maybe we went into Foxborough a couple years and ruined like a potential playoff push or something like that. But I do want to give it up to the Bills. Josh Allen, I was texting somebody this, I forgot who at some point, but like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, even above Patrick Mahomes at this point, I like Patrick Mahomes as a player over both those two quarterbacks they just named. But those two quarterbacks look like they're playing like a different level of football than anybody else. It almost feels like Patrick Mahomes like 2 or 3 years ago when everything was clicking and it just felt like football was like he was like in a different realm than everybody else. Like that is the brand of football that Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are playing right now, because neither of those two defenses are bad. Like both of those two defenses have really good guys on the team. Like you can go down a list of like Roquan Smith and just a bunch of Malachi Starks is now playing in that team, the safety out of Georgia. Like there's a bunch of guys on that team. It's the Ravens defense. They always have guys on the team. Bills defense is a little bit less so, but still like the way that they were able to dominate that game and like put up 40 points in week one, the only two teams to do it, it is just very impressive. And I do really like the Bills as winner this week, and unfortunately.
All right, let's move into your losers. Who do you got?
So for the losers, I want to start with the 49ers, just the fact that it's it's hit and miss because they do have the easiest schedule by last year's like rankings going into the season, so they could still win a bunch of games. But Brock Purdy was so uninspiring this past game. He had two interceptions, two pretty bad interceptions where he just lofted it up and got like it got taken down by the other team both times, and then like it just their injuries as well. Juwan Jennings goes down early in that game. George Kittle has a great first drive and then goes down early in that game. Christian McCaffrey comes into that game on the injury report, and everybody holds their breath. Like that team could look completely different if those players can't go for extended periods of time. George Kittle has already been ruled out for a couple weeks now. I think that the 49ers could be in trouble here. And then the second one I have, trouble is an overstatement, but the second one I have is everybody in the AFC East except for the Buffalo Bills, because the Miami Dolphins, will get to them later, but that was probably the toughest game I've ever had to watch as a Dolphins fan in my life. And I think that if Justin Fields isn't that guy, the Jets could be in a really bad spot, because I think that they're in a position where they could win just enough games to like not get a good quarterback, but like not enough wins to even be competitive in a really competitive AFC. And then you have the Patriots. They like Drake May just had a rough day at the office, and I don't think that Raiders team is very good either. And that could be like one of the few games you circle in as maybe a win. They were controlling that game at one point and still managed a way to lose it. So everybody except the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East looks like a loser after week one.
So I'll start with the 49ers, and I'll make both of these quick before I get to my losers. They didn't really look all that great, and the Seahawks were in position to take the game, and a late fumble stopped it. So it's like a winner in week one, but a loser overall. And then those injuries just really suck. It always feels like the injury bug just hits them, and it's not something that'll help them, especially when they definitely could fix some stuff from week one. The AFC East, I mean, yeah, the Dolphins. Oh my God, I couldn't imagine watching that game. And that is, yeah. So we'll be cool. I'll be quick with it, but man, that feels like a QB coach swap at the end of the year. If I've ever seen one, it's on the way. We'll talk about them later. And yeah, the Pats, I think uninspiring is probably the word. A lot of teams felt uninspiring, and then I wouldn't really go too far with the Jets, but yeah, you definitely want to see it. I know a lot of Jets fans post game just felt like, oh, classic Jets. Felt like they had it. Felt like it was just they were playing inspiring football, and they lose it. They just don't have enough to end the game against. Obviously, it feels like you're going against an organization, one of the better run teams in NFL history, and it slips away. So definitely sucks for them. And it always feels like the AFC East, when they got a top dog, those other three teams just kind of fall. Then they fall hard. But my losers were the Detroit Lions and the Houston Texans. We'll start with the Lions. The biggest thing here is losing both coordinators is a thing, and it does hurt your team. It's about how you answer it, but that week one performance against the Packers, and I'm high on the Packers. I think they're going to be a very good team this year. I have them going to the Super Bowl, which sounds so ridiculous to say. I don't know. I know a lot of people disagree, but I know a lot of people disagree, but I believe it. But this Lions team losing both coordinators, they looked really bad. I do think that there's a bit of a concern with when we look back on this team a few years from now, will we say what their season was last year was the best chance that they had to make a run at the Super Bowl? I'm starting to get a little bit worried. I was worried when they lost to the Commanders, because that just feels like home field, 15-2. Oh my goodness, that was their shot. And you get bounced in the divisional. You don't get as many years as you think you do in your Super Bowl window, and sometimes it slips before you can really recognize it. It's like what's the old saying? I wish wouldn't it be nice if you knew that you were in the good old days before you left them? That's what this Lions team feels like. Oh, also saw another stat. I think it ended up getting fact checked, but without Sean McVay or Ben Johnson calling the plays, there was some people saying that Jared Goff was 0-19-1. I think I got fact checked to like 3-18 something. They're figuring it out, but regardless, it's a bad record.
Yeah,
and I don't want to hold the 0-8 record. I believe or like 0-7-1 or whatever he was with Jeff Fisher that first year with the Rams against him, because that was his rookie year. It is what it is, but something to watch. It might not be nothing. And then also the Texans. Would have been nice to see CJ Stroud bounce back a little bit. Would have been nice not to see him throw 0 touchdowns and a pick and not have a ton of yards in the game, and the team put up more than 9 points against the Rams team that was definitely beatable in week one. Definitely would have been nice to see them play a little bit better, and the offense just simply wasn't there. They had a chance late, just like the Seahawks did, late fumble, and that's all she wrote. You got to get more than 9 points, though. That was really unfortunate, and people are going to be knocking on the door and saying, hey, what's going on with CJ Stroud if this keeps up, going into week 3, 4, 5. So they're my losers.
Yeah, no, for either of these teams, it doesn't look particularly good. I think that the Lions are more inclined to bounce back, and the Texans, it is so unfortunate that he couldn't get the ball to his wide receivers. As a Nico Collins fantasy owner, I was suffering through that game. Felt like there were so many opportunities to get him the ball, and he just the ball was never even in his direction. And it's just, there was so much promise with CJ Stroud his first year too, that like you look at him and you think that like the sophomore slump is a thing, but you want to see so much more. And the Rams do have a good defense, and they have a lot of like lesser opponents, especially playing in the AFC South. So could they win that division? Could they still be fine? Yes. But like in a conference where the top quarterbacks are Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes, it feels like CJ Stroud's going into his first season. It felt like he could maybe make himself a part of that conversation. Right now, it feels like they're light years ahead of him. And those are at least 3 teams that are better than you in your own conference.
And it feels like he's also pretty far behind Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert.
And that second tier as well. Yeah.
There's a gap there now, I think, officially. But he's got plenty of opportunities. It's a long season, but this is what winners and losers are for.
It's overreacting Monday.
Yeah, of course. That's what you got to do.